The local government news roundup is supported this month by the National Growth Areas Alliance Emerging Growth Areas Forum. Australia is working towards 1.2 million new homes over 5 years, and growth councils are on the front line of delivering them. It's not just about land release and planning approvals, it's about getting the roads, drainage, schools, libraries and community infrastructure right from day one. And that's the focus of the 2026 Emerging Growth Areas Forum, hosted by the National Growth Areas Alliance on Tuesday the 4th of August at Hume City Council Town Hall in Broadmeadows. It's running alongside the NGAA National Congress. For the first time, council leaders from emerging and established growth areas will come together to share what's worked and what hasn't in managing rapid growth, covering organisational readiness, working with developers, building community trust, and making the case for state and federal investment. If your council is facing rapid population growth, this is a forum built for you. Registration is open now to all local governments. Head to the NGAA website, ngaa.org.au, to secure your place. Coming up, more calls for the private prosecution loophole to be closed in Victoria. Whittlesea's new CEO revealed. 2 Queensland Council CEOs announced their departures. An interim GM appointed in New South Wales. Wagga Council under fire for its approach to rough sleepers. One of Tasmania's longest-serving mayors set to retire. Calls for a Hobart councillor's behaviour to be investigated, and conduct dispute expenses on the agenda at Northern Midlands. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. All of that and much more just ahead on the Local Government News Roundup. News from and about councils across Australia and beyond. Brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Thanks for listening wherever you are in Australia or around the world. It's Friday, the 24th of July. In breaking news, Wyndham City Council has elected a new mayor after the resignation from the role of councillor Preet Singh earlier this week. Former mayor and VLGA board member councillor Mia Shaw has been returned to the mayoralty, a position she held last year. Councillor Jasmine Hill remains in the deputy mayor position. Councillor Shaw will serve out the remainder of the current mayoral term, which expires in November. In Victoria, the Greens have added their voice to those calling on the Allen government to urgently change Victoria's Local Government Act, warning a loophole has left thousands of Hepburnshire residents without elected representation. 5 councillors were automatically stood down after a private prosecution, leaving the council unable to function. Greens leader Ellen Sandell and Deputy Leader Dr Sarah Mansfield have written to Premier Jacinta Allen and the Local Government Minister Paul Hamer, urging standalone legislation next sitting week to restore democratic decision-making. They also want the Director of Public Prosecutions to urgently review whether the private prosecutions should proceed, and warn the same loophole could impact other Victorian councils. The City of Whittlesea is getting a new Chief Executive Officer. Councillors endorsed the appointment of Dan Hogan at the July Council meeting, with Mr Hogan to commence on the 1st of September. He brings more than 20 years in local government, including senior roles at the City of Melton, Brimbank City Council, and his current role at the City of Kingston. Mayor Laurie Cox said councillors were united in their view that he had the right skills and experience to lead the organisation forward after the recent departure of Craig Lloyd for Western Australia. Mayor Cox thanked Debbie Wood, Director of Infrastructure and Environment, for her leadership as acting CEO during the transition period. Campaspe Shire Council has narrowly defeated a motion requesting a 10-year historical report detailing township-by-township rates and capital expenditure. Councillor Jessica Mitchell argued the analysis would bring transparency to infrastructure equity across the municipality, but other councillors felt the breakdown would stoke division between communities. The Riverine Herald reported that the motion was lost on a 5-4 vote. Brimbank City Council has voted to monitor rather than formally join ongoing native title proceedings as a respondent according to Brimbank and North West Star Weekly. The legal process follows an application by the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people seeking recognition of pre-existing land rights across parts of Melbourne and surrounding municipalities. Council officers advised that taking an active monitoring role, rather than becoming a party to the proceedings, would deliver the best outcome for local residents while maintaining respectful engagement with traditional owners. Cardinia Shire Council has voted to keep the creche at the Cardinia Life Recreation Centre open following strong community feedback. Despite declining attendance and rising compliance costs across the sector, the council resolved to maintain the service while reviewing its ongoing operation. Officers will now explore external grants and funding partnerships to help offset costs and ensure long-term sustainability. Commuters in Melbourne's outer west are facing a daily struggle to find train station parking as local leaders push transport infrastructure to the top of the state election agenda. Melton City Council is calling on both sides of politics to commit to 3 new train stations, including Mount Atkinson and Thornhill Park, to keep pace with rapid population growth. With local car parks filling up before 7:30am, council data reveals 86% of the local workforce must travel outside the area for work every day. Read more on that advocacy push from ABC News. In more advocacy news, Wellington Shire Council leadership has met with Victorian state opposition leaders to advocate for key regional infrastructure, transport and agricultural priorities. The council also reiterated its opposition to local governments collecting the state's Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. And Maribyrnong City Council has endorsed formal submissions advocating for key design modifications across 2 major Victorian government transport infrastructure projects. Councillors voted to oppose a proposed pedestrian underpass at Yarraville's Anderson Street level crossing, and they're urging planners to integrate a multimodal bus interchange and improved pedestrian safety features into early designs for the new Tottenham station as part of Melbourne Airport Rail Stage 1. And in good news from the city of Greater Geelong, it's secured a 5-year agreement to host the Spilt Milk Music Festival at Cardinia Park. Delivered in partnership with Geelong Major Events and Visit Victoria, the initiative is projected to generate $15.5 million for the local economy in its first year. Moving on to New South Wales, and Wagga City Council has issued compliance notices to rough sleepers at Wilkes Park, warning that failure to vacate the site by July 28 could result in fines exceeding $1,100. According to ABC News, executive management indicated the regulatory action is intended to incentivise individuals to engage with state-backed housing support services. However, local advocates and legal representatives have raised concerns, arguing that punitive measures risk displacing vulnerable residents without resolving broader regional housing shortages. The New South Wales Government has agreed to an early lease termination with greyhound racing authorities, paving the way for the demolition of the Wentworth Park track by the end of the year, according to a report from the Sydney Morning Herald. The 14-hectare site will be handed over to the City of Sydney to be redeveloped into 125,000 square metres of public parkland, sporting fields and open community space. The Planning Minister, Paul Scully, said the urban renewal project will integrate with surrounding precincts to create a major green spine and support thousands of new homes. Narrabri Shire Council is calling on the New South Wales Government to address regional police shortages through targeted recruitment and housing incentives. The Narrabri Courier reported that Mayor Daryl Tiemans will write to state ministers advocating for urgent action on local vacancies and housing barriers across the Shire. The council noted that while policing remains a state responsibility, adequate regional resourcing and accommodation support are vital to ensuring officer retention and community safety. Gilgandra Shire Council has appointed Catherine Larkin as interim general manager following the resignation of former GM David Neves, who's heading to Mid-Western. Mayor Doug Batten says Ms Larkin, a council staff member since 2017, was selected through an internal expression of interest process. She begins the role on the 31st of July. Council has engaged leading roles to run the search for a permanent general manager. And the official order for the two candidates contesting the upcoming Kiama Municipal Council by-election has been determined following a ballot draw on Thursday morning. Stanley Jarrett has been listed first, ahead of Michael Bowden. Pre-poll voting for the single-seat election will open on Saturday the 15th of August, before residents head to 7 local polling places on election day, Saturday the 22nd of August. By-election is proceeding after the New South Wales Office of Local Government rejected the council's request to temporarily reduce councillor numbers to save the $200,000 in running costs. Big news out of Queensland this week, with Gold Coast City Council CEO Tim Baker set to step down ahead of schedule following months of scrutiny over his leadership and administration. Mr Baker announced the news on Wednesday. Mayor Tom Tate has thanked him for his service since 2021, highlighting key achievements in financial sustainability and infrastructure delivery. The announcement follows recent controversies surrounding overseas travel expenses and questions raised by councillors regarding senior staff appointments and executive performance. Mr Baker will take leave starting July 29th before officially exiting in December. An acting CEO will be appointed shortly while the council begins its search for a successor. And North Burnett Regional Council's Chief Executive Officer Craig Matheson has resigned, effective Friday the 27th of November. Mayor Les Hott says Mr Matheson gave more than 4 months' notice, well beyond the 1 month required, to support a smooth handover while the council recruits his successor. Mr Matheson has led the council for 2 years, and the Mayor says his departure will be a significant loss to the organisation and the region. Recruitment for a new CEO is expected to begin soon. A delegation of Queensland mayors has travelled to Melbourne this week to protest proposed cuts to federal disaster recovery funding. Under the proposed reforms to the disaster recovery funding arrangements, the Commonwealth's contribution would drop from 64% to 50%. The mayors from Douglas Shire, Lockyer Valley, Hinchinbrook, Merway, Etheridge and Whitsunday local government areas warn the reduction will leave disaster-prone communities facing substantial financial shortfalls during recovery efforts. Townsville City Council is pushing for a full postal ballot in the upcoming Division 1 by-election in a bid to save ratepayers more than $120,000. Following the resignation of Councillor Paul Jacob, the council voted unanimously to request the postal-only format from the Electoral Commission to ease voter fatigue and cut election costs. Mayor Nick Demetto says a local returning office will also be requested to assist residents with any potential mail delays. Cassowary Coast Regional Council is pushing to amend Queensland's Animal Management Act to give local governments the flexibility to offer lifetime pet registrations for cats and dogs. According to a report from the Cairns Post, the council is arguing the change would reduce annual administrative processing and free up animal management resources for higher value compliance activities. And Fraser Coast Regional Council has launched an investigation alongside police following the illegal clearing of around 70 native trees at the Fay Smith Wetlands Reserve in Maryborough. The damage caused by the unauthorised construction of a makeshift shelter has left the council facing an estimated $70,000 restoration bill. Offenders face potential fines exceeding $11,600 in addition to remediation costs, with local authorities appealing to the public for information. Let's go to Tasmania next, where West Tamar Mayor Christina Holmdale has announced she will not recontest her seat in October's local government elections, bringing an end to 16 years of council service. A former president of the Local Government Association of Tasmania, Mayor Holmdale was first elected in 2009 before stepping into the mayoral role in 2014. In recognition of her contributions to the sector and the broader community, Mayor Holmdale was inducted into the Tasmanian Honour Roll of Women in 2023. Hobart City Council will debate a motion behind closed doors next week seeking an independent state investigation into Deputy Lord Mayor Zelinda Sherlock. As reported by ABC News, 4 councillors are calling on the Director of Local Government to intervene over disputes surrounding the use of council-supplied drinks and snacks. The councillors are said to be furious after the Integrity Commission dismissed the matter, finding it did not constitute misconduct. Northern Midlands Council has voted to index its capped $3,000 contribution towards dispute resolution in line with the annual CPI increases. The Examiner reported the decision follows councillor scrutiny over $6,000 spent on mediation consultants across two recent Code of Conduct matters. Under the policy, Council covers mediation fees up to the capped threshold, leaving the involved parties to fund any additional costs. Meanwhile, Northern Midlands councillor Andrew McCulloch has appealed to the Supreme Court, seeking a stay on his 6-week suspension for Code of Conduct breaches. According to the Examiner, counsel for the Attorney-General argued granting a stay would subvert regulations under the Local Government Act, while Councillor McCulloch expressed concern over the penalty's impact on his upcoming re-election campaign. Supreme Court Justice Michael Brett has adjourned the matter and is scheduled to deliver a decision today, Friday. And former Kingborough Council General Manager Gary Arnold has commenced as interim Chief Executive Officer at Waratah Wynyard Council, following the retirement of Vanessa Adams. Bringing a decade of senior sector experience, Mr Arnold is set to head the administration until late February next year, overseeing daily operations and supporting preparations for October's local government elections before the recruitment for a permanent chief executive begins. In South Australia, the city of Mount Gambier has approved a trial installing 12 dedicated container collection units on public bins across high foot traffic areas in its CBD. Costing less than $2,000, the initiative aims to increase resource recovery under South Australia's container deposit scheme. Council staff will monitor maintenance and community usage ahead of a formal evaluation report scheduled for the first half of next year. Plans to divide Western Australia's second largest local government area look set to be shelved following advice from council officers. According to Perth Now, a preliminary report into carving out a new local government from the city of Wanneroo warned the boundary review would be too resource intensive, costing up to $850,000 annually and staffing alone. Elected members are scheduled to vote on the recommendation to halt the proposal at their July 28 meeting. And the City of Wanneroo Council is set to consider parking management strategies, with officers recommending against introducing paid parking across the municipality. Perth Now reported the council's administration noted localised demand pressures are better managed through expanded timed parking and monitoring technology, while the Revenue Review Committee voted 5-1 to endorse that advice. Some have highlighted the absence of long-term financial modelling as the final decision moves to the full council. And we round out this Friday edition with some international news. Let's go to the UK firstly. Quite a bit to catch up on there. Harlow Council has joined legal action challenging the UK government's plan to replace 15 Essex authorities with 5 unitary councils. Council leader Dan Swords says the government's timetable is undeliverable and threatens town centre redevelopment projects alongside core service delivery. As reported by BBC News, the District Authority will join Essex County Council in seeking a High Court judicial review over the proposed reforms. In June, the council had called on the government to pause the reorganisation process, vowing to use every mechanism available to challenge plans to abolish Harlow Council. Liverpool City Council has applied to courts to dismiss a legal challenge against its decision to extend city centre parking fees until 11 p.m. Local businesses launched the action after the council removed free late-night parking to standardise enforcement despite initial public consultation showing significant opposition. According to the BBC, council officials argue the claimants failed to comply with procedural requirements when serving the claim. A candidate in the upcoming Greater Manchester mayoral by-election has been suspended by his professional body over social media comments. BBC News reported that mental health nurse Marlon West was handed an 18-month suspension by the Nursing and Midwifery Council over posts regarding grooming gangs. The ruling arrives just ahead of the 30th of July vote to elect a new mayor for the region. And in other UK news, BBC researchers found that half of all councils in England actively allow or encourage pavement parking, despite strong opposition from disability charities due to accessibility issues. Warrington Borough Council's planned sale of its £30 million stake in Redwood Bank has collapsed due to macroeconomic conditions, though the authority has received a new offer from an unlinked third party. And London's Mayor Sadiq Khan has announced £18 million in funding and accepted task force recommendations to help young Londoners and the local workforce adapt to AI-driven shifts in the job market. Let's go to North America. We'll start in Mexico. Authorities in central Mexico have launched an investigation following the death of Mayor Valentin Levine, who was shot inside local government facilities in Temoac, Morelos. According to CBC News, Levine had previously survived an armed attack in January. Police and forensic teams are continuing operations to identify and locate those responsible. In the US, newly appointed Sausalito city manager Elaine Forbes is being released from jail to undergo a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation. That follows her arrest for allegedly attempting to steal a yacht while experiencing a mental health crisis, according to USA Today. The Post and Courier reports that all 4 members of Chapin Town Council in South Carolina have unanimously passed a resolution of no confidence in the Mayor Bill Mitchell, formally requesting his resignation. It follows ongoing governance friction, including allegations of a hostile work environment, widespread staff resignations and communication blockades between the administration and elected officials. The Mayor immediately rejected the call for him to step down. Up into Canada, where the City of Medicine Hat and Mayor Lindsay Clark have denied all allegations of wrongdoing in statements of defence filed against former Chief Administrative Officer Anne Mitchell. Mitchell is suing for wrongful dismissal following her termination late last year, while the municipality alleges serious misconduct. CBC News reported that both the city and Mayor Clark have requested that the legal actions be dismissed, with costs, as the matter awaits further court proceedings. A Saskatoon City Council committee has backed a multi-agency homelessness action plan featuring 50 proposed actions, though officials and community leaders expressed concerns over the accuracy and completeness of the data used to measure its success. And Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe denied plans to encourage public servants to stay downtown after work to stagger commute times, clarifying that the city's $29 million fall transportation campaign will focus solely on informing residents about 48 measures aimed at smoothing traffic flow. More on those stories from CTV News. And we finish in New Zealand, where Labor's Deputy Leader Carmel Sepuloni has accused the government of passing the buck over cost of living pressures, according to RNZ News. It comes after new Stats NZ figures revealed annual inflation has risen to 4.1%. driven by soaring fuel prices and a 9% jump in council rates. More than 18,600 people have signed a petition urging Christchurch City Council to reverse its conditional $15 million funding commitment toward the Christchurch Cathedral rebuild, citing concerns over public consultation and rising ratepayer costs. RNZ News has more on that story. The Mayor of Timaru has urged councillors to distribute duties more evenly across the table following a resignation from a key regional water committee. As reported by the press, the leadership reshuffle has put the spotlight on elected member workloads and representation across joint local government bodies. Manawatu District Council has unanimously voted not to submit a proposal under the central government's Head Start local government reform pathway, reaffirming its firm opposition to compulsory amalgamation. The council will instead continue direct engagement with neighbouring authorities ahead of the government's upcoming backstop reform phase. And South Taranaki and Stratford District Councils have formally voted to support a joint proposal to merge into a single unitary authority. The proposed model would combine district and regional council responsibilities for central and southern Taranaki, leaving regional functions for the rest of the area under ongoing discussion. Well, there was a bit in that one. Episode number 620 for Friday the 24th of July of the Local Government News Roundup. Comments or feedback by email to lgweeklynews@gmail.com. Information about the episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com. And my thanks to our sponsors who make the podcast possible: the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, Symphony 3, simple connected customer experiences, And Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Did you know you can also support the podcast by taking out a monthly subscription, which you can cancel at any time? You'll find all the details on the website or in your podcast player. We record in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I'll be back with more news very soon. Until then, thanks for listening and bye for now. Support for the local government news roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more.